So, welcome to the last presentation before lunch. If everybody is ready, um, myself Akash and I have my colleague Mark here, and we'll be talking about server on steroids. So, how PDF Toolbox server is more powerful than before. But before that, I would like to. Is it audible? So, I would like to know how many people are using PDF Toolbox server, hot folder. Show of hands, please. Oh yeah, quite a lot. So agenda wise, I will quickly go through how a hot folder works for people who have not worked with hot folders. Um, then I will explain sidecar files, what they're used for, why they're useful. Then Mark will take over job tickets and will both show a demo about sidecar files and job tickets. So basically, a hot folder, you can start a server either locally or remotely. And then you can define what we call as a job. So job is a more enhanced configuration of a profile. So you can name your job, give a description, select a profile that you want to run in server. If not that, you can also add additional CLI parameters. So you can leave the profile empty and you can just define additional CLI parameters. Then in the server setting, you have in folder where you put all your input PDF files, and based on the processing, if it is a success, then PDF files move on success folder or info, warning, error, and processed. There are some other options as well. You can log the complete CLI output, or you can keep original files. You can overwrite existing files, and once you click OK, you will have that job here on the main server window. After clicking this triangle here, you can run your job, and based on the input files that you have and the profile that you have selected, the files will move to success or error folder. So this is how a hot folder works. Here in this example, I have a simple place text profile. What I'm doing is I'm simply defining a text that I want to place on a PDF. You can define font size. Why I'm telling this, because I will use the same profile for my demo. So you can define font size. Here I have, I want to place the text on the center of the page, some rotation of 30 degrees. So what's important here is I have a variable here as for text that I want to place. Every variable has a key and a value. So the key here is place underscore text, and I have a default value of callas test. Now imagine if you have this profile in your job and you place more than one PDF file in your in folder and you run this job, all these PDF files will have the same default value that I have here, callas test, as the text placed in the middle of the PDF file. But what if you want to place different variables in variable values in different PDF files? So if you want to have callas test in first PDF, you want to have something else, some other text in second PDF, that you can achieve by sidecar files. So as I said, sidecar files let you define different variables for each file. You can transport information between jobs. So the job that I created before, you can transport information between them. And important to note is that sidecar file moves with the PDF file. There is some naming convention that you have to keep in mind if you're working with sidecar files. So if your PDF is called dummy.pdf, your sidecar file has to be called dummy.pdf.sidecar, whose file format is JSON. So just a more pictorial representation. I have my in folder here. I have in.pdf. I place in.pdf.sidecar with the variable callas in my in folder. The output that I will have the variable callas. I have a second PDF input.pdf, and I have a sidecar input.pdf.sidecar with the variable something else, confidential in this case. and my output PDF will have the variable confidential. So you can play around with different PDFs with different variables. So that's why you use that's how you use sidecar files. So this is the syntax of a sidecar file. It has a type, sidecar, variables. In this case, I only have one. Depending on your use case, you can have multiple. This is the same key that I had in my profile, place underscore text underscore sidecar, and a value that you want in your PDF finally. This syntax is important to note now because Mark will be talking about it in Jobtickets, which is in the same direction but slightly different in his use case. So once you have placed the sidecar file and the PDF in your input folder and it gets executed, the sidecar file, there is a result object that gets added to the sidecar file. That result object has command for execution, the input folder path, job name, return code, and the variable. So this sidecar file after execution will have a results object, which will have a command in folder, the job name, return code, and the new variable value that I placed.
It's important to mention, now we have it, that these variables which are in the result area are updated with each hot folder job you process. So when you have multiple hot folders where the sidecar goes through, there will be additional result sections, because you can of course think of cases where you modify the variables which has been used. So each result part has the variable values which has been used at that step. So, and you have the possibility, of course, using JavaScript variables to parse and to grab up the variables which has been used, let's say, 3 steps beforehand, before your actual job.
Yeah, so there are some do's and don'ts with sidecar files. So if a sidecar file exists beside a PDF in your input folder, it will be used for processing. So there is no way out of that. So if there is a sidecar file, it will be used. A sidecar file cannot contain additional CLI parameters. So the syntax that I showed you, that is the syntax, and you cannot add any additional commands there. And it is important to copy the sidecar file before the input file. So if your job is running already and you put your input PDF in the input folder and the sidecar file is not there yet, the processing will start. So it's important that you put the sidecar file before you put the input file. You can access sidecar file via JavaScript. So as Mark already mentioned, it is possible to access the JSON object in the sidecar file via JavaScript from the profile. So it's a bit more technical, but you can play around with that. You can access results from the previous step of the result object. So what I showed, the result object has job name and other parameters. You can access that result from the previous step. And you can create sidecar file in the output folder. So success folder, info folder, you can create your own sidecar file if it doesn't exist there. So I will show that in my live demo. I will do that. So my server is already running. I will stop that for a while. What?
Let the server run. Just okay.
So my files are here. Job 1. So sorry, how do I right click on that? Okay. So this is my sidecar file with the type sidecar. I will just make the size bigger. So type is sidecar, variable is place text, and the value that I want to place on my PDF is just some text from the initial Sidecar file. Going back to my server, I will show you the job configuration. So I have defined my profile here. The profile has a variable place text with the same key, place text. I have defined the folders, in folder where I put my input file. On success, so this was the point that I was mentioning before. You can create Sidecar file if not existing already in all the output folders. I'm not giving any additional CLI parameters. And now if I copy these two files and put it in my input folder, it's locked, so it's processing. You can also see here it's processing, and it is processed. So this is the processed file, the initial one, and using the Sidecar file, I have placed some text from the initial Sidecar file. From the Sidecar file, I've placed this text on this PDF. This is a very simple example, but you can do with various variables, many PDFs, and with every PDF, a Sidecar file will be traveling with it.
But it's not necessary to have a Sidecar file in a job like Akash has shown. There is a normal setup of this job, and when you want to have the default values applied, there is no need for a Sidecar file. When you have it, like a color conversion or so, or scaling or whatever, have to process it like a usual file. You just put the file in. Otherwise, you can, if you want to change the default settings, you can add a Sidecar file.
Right. So now it's job tickets for servers, and Mark will take over that.
Yeah. Job tickets. Sounds similar, looks similar from the first glance, but it's completely different target, so to say. So what the topics will be: what are or why job tickets, what are the hormones, so to come back to the steroids, what are the treatments, what you have to take care about, what are the complications, what are the limits, and what to do afterwards with that. So we had already seen the first disorder of the current hot folder mechanism. You could only set a static variable, which was ugly limitation, which has been solved by Akash somehow with the Sidecar files. But there were more limitations. David already mentioned some of them this morning. So there was, for example, also for hot folder the need to move the files to process into the in folder of the hot folder processing. For example, maybe customers ask for different reports for different files, so they don't want to have these static files, well, static reports to be produced, but different for different files. And there was, for example, the request for merging multiple input files and some more possible settings there. So what is the treatment process for the job ticket mode? So you have the in folder, the out folder. The server searches in the in folder like usual, but it doesn't search for PDFs which are coming in or other supported files. It just searches for JSON files. How they look, we will see in a minute. So when you place a JSON file, this job ticket file in the JSON format inside of the in folder, it's processed by the server. Optionally, you can grab the files to process not from the in folder, but from every available input file location somewhere in your network or system or whatever, web maybe. Then the file is processed by the server. And of course, the finished processed PDF is moved into the defined out folder. So there, the normal hot folder processing starts. So you get the files from somewhere, process them, and put it into the out folder. And the job ticket is done is moved into the processed folder. So it will not move along with the PDF like we have it with Sidecar files. How is that done? So the hot folder setting is a little bit different what we have seen before, or what a normal hot folder is. You have now in these profile sections, so to say, there you have now not the selection of a profile, but for the job ticket mode. The content of the JSON, we will have a look at that on this job ticket file, is similar to response file. Some of you will know that. And that's it, what you need. You need an input job ticket and the server job. Yeah, like I said, you have to create a job ticket. You have to make sure when you move the job ticket into the hot folder that all the needed files are in place. What that means, I'll show you in a second in a job ticket or in the different variants of a job ticket. You can have then place the job tickets into the in folder, and output will be placed, like I already said, into the defined output folder. And most important, the original file stays in its origin location. So this is also different behavior than we had before in server processing. So in the past, we moved the files from the input folder to the output folder, not with the hot folder in job ticket mode. So coming to the syntax of the job ticket. So for profiles, you see it. The syntax is quite similar. You have it here at the top, where we had Sidecar before, now it's job ticket. And then you don't have the variables path, but the params path. So what does it mean? You have it similar to the CLI. You define all the possible commands, options, which you have on a CLI, but in JSON formatting. So you have the path, let's say, to the KFBX. You have a path to the incoming PDF somewhere on your volumes, on your mounted system. You can also set the variables. You can set reports. You can also, when ordering multiple reports, for example, with a subfolder or without a subfolder or a destination file name for that report, you are completely free, like you know it from the CLI input. Similar for actions, you also start with a job ticket so that our engine knows what comes there. Is it a Sidecar file? It's a job ticket, and so it can react. And you have here, similar like this CLI, the save as image, for example, the input file folder, or input file source, not destination, the source, and all parameters which you might need for processing this specific file within your hot folder mechanism. So let's see how that works. Now I have to fight with this microphone, wonderful. No, it's okay. So, I've seen this, delete that. Where is my wonderful pdfToolbox server? So, I already prepared here a second job, which has here these job ticket setting, and also just has these input folders and output folders defined. So I'll start this, and I have here my job 2. And you see already I have different types of job tickets already prepared. So the first one is similar to what Akash has shown. It also defines the same profile he has used, but I'm grabbing the file. You see it here. I have to maybe enlarge the window a little bit. We grab it here from somewhere else than my input folder, because from my personal desktop, variables are set, and I order additional reports which haven't been defined in the hot folder settings of my job. So let's see if I get this window here. So I just moved this file now into my in folder. Here we go. No text clipping. That will not react on this file. Let's make it this way, that's for sure. So, and you see already it is logged, even Toolbox is fast. We see it there, it is processed. And it will end up in, hopefully in the success file. You see it here. And we have it there already, the dummy PDF, which has also this dummy text, which comes from the job ticket file, which has been properly placed. You see it here as well. I have defined, if you remember it from the job ticket, I had here defined the report XML. So there was no path defined, so it creates the XML report and places it beside the output file. But I have it here already also defined that I want an additional overview report somewhere in on my desktop on a different location. I have here a report jobs 1. There shall be, okay, you see it's from 12/22, so it's a new report, not a prepared one. So the server has also already copied that into that destination folder, this specific report. What we have also here in the output file, Akash mentioned it already, you had this possibility to create a sidecar file. So you will maybe think of a chain of hot folders, and you want to know what has been processed there. So pdfToolbox now creates here that sidecar file. I have to enlarge that a little bit. And here you have, similar to the sidecar file, so out of this job ticket, a sidecar file has been produced so that you know what has happened there. So you can grab up information from that also later on. Let's have a look at the next one. We have here the example I already have shown you, the save as image. You can also do it into the same input folder because we are completely independent. You can put it just there. I don't want to copy the name, I want to copy the file. Here we go. Put it there. And immediately the processing starts, hopefully. Yeah, it does. And if we now look inside the success folder, you will see a lot of images are created there. You could also do other types of actions, but in this case I wanted to have files as images. This file as images. Works also like a charm. So what else can we do with hot folders? We can also use, which was a frequent request, that we can merge files in server. There is this technical issue where we said, okay, this will never be. We thought it's too static. Each time we thought about that, in which order shall they be merged, these files in the input file? How long shall we wait until all the files are there? And as we are talking more and more about some kind of file management, product management systems where you know which files belong together, we decided to go that way for merging files within job tickets instead of multiple settings within hot folders, which is waiting then for files. And maybe there's a misconfiguration or even the order of the files is not properly configured. We said, okay, let's go for the job ticket approach, where you can simply add these files in the order which you need into a single JSON file, and then put this JSON file into an in folder of the server. So let's do this as well. I have here where is it? There are my input folders. We have here, to enlarge it a little bit, you see multiple, in this case, I have images, which are just, shall be merged into a PDF. And when we now move this merge job ticket into the same folder as we had before, so we can just put it here, where we already done profile processing or exporting as an image, it will be processed, and immediately, hopefully, there will be a PDF created in the success output folder where this images has been merged to one PDF file. Quite simple, quite nice to use.
What in this case will happen if some of the images is
It will just, it will end up in an arrow folder.
Without the result or with the result?
No, it will not create a result, it will just move into the arrow folder. Because there's one file missing, and it would be the same behavior like you have on a CLI, it will just end up in an arrow, because this is what you expect. You don't want a file without a cover or whatever. So, okay, when you want to test the job ticket files you have created, we also added a small CLI action, so you can easily testing a job ticket also on the CLI. You don't have to set up a server when you want to test that. Like I already said in the beginning, a little bit similar to the response files, but in a JSON format. Okay, there are of course some limits because we are talking still about hot folder processing. Output options are not allowed. So you cannot define, copy this file somewhere else. Please, then you have to use response files because it's a hot folder mode where maybe the output folder is the input folder of the next hot folder setting or job setting, so to say. What also is not controlled, so you cannot define it within the job ticket to make it clear. You can define it in the server settings, in the hot folder settings, but not within the job ticket itself. You cannot define cache folders. You can also not define distributed processing options or timeout settings for processing. These are already controlled by the server or by the job. So you cannot do it because then one file would be distributed, another file would not be distributed. It would put a little bit, would confusing for the server and for the user as well. So these are controlled by the server and not in multiple places. We are talking about JSON. Don't mix up. I've done it several times, especially on Mac. Mac likes to replace these straight into some more nicer, I don't know the name for these type of columns, genau. On Windows, you have to escape backslashes or just use normal slashes. It will be replaced automatically. When you are talking about strings, quotes has to be escaped, of course, because otherwise it would have a JSON meaning. And just a small note, also spaces must not be escaped. We have already seen that in the job ticket I've shown you. What's the next step? I already showed you. When you have this JSON file in, the JSON file will be processed once and moved into the output folder, or not the output folder, but the processed output folder, and not into the success or info output folder. So you can simply use this sidecar file. And like we already mentioned several times now, you can pick up the content there from this created sidecar file using some JavaScript. How to pick up data, it's documented on help.callassoftware.com, and this will be a little bit improved in the next versions. We have some plans to make it even more easier to grab up data, to grab up details from the sidecar file. Okay, so what do we also have? Okay, we already were there. Yeah, I think that's it for now from my side. That are the new two features, the sidecars and the job tickets. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Just no criticism, thank you.